My name is Ruth. I come from Moab, a land foreign to Israel. But it was there that my story began. I married an Israelite man, the son of Elimelech and Naomi, who had left Bethlehem during a time of famine. For 10 years, I lived alongside my mother-in-law, Naomi, and my sister-in-law, Orpah. But joy faded when my husband, brother-in-law, and father-in-law died. The home once filled with laughter became silent and sorrowful. Naomi, devastated and bitter, decided to return to Bethlehem upon hearing that the Lord had visited his people and provided food. Before leaving, she looked at us with tenderness and sadness, asking us to stay in Moab. She said there were no more sons for us to marry, that our hope should be renewed in a new household. Orpah, with tears in her eyes, kissed her goodbye and stayed. But I could not leave her. Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For where you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. In that moment, my faith was sealed. I did not know what awaited me in Bethlehem, but I knew I could not abandon Naomi. We traveled together, to widows in a land that was no longer mine. We crossed hills and valleys, bearing the weight of loss and the quiet hope of a new beginning. When we arrived in Bethlehem, we were met with surprise. "Is this Naomi?" they asked. But she replied, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has made my life very bitter." Even amidst bitterness, I felt that our story was not over. The barley harvest had begun, and with it, perhaps a new chapter for two women marked by loss, but upheld by hope. We arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. The fields were golden and full of life, and the aroma of freshly baked bread filled the streets. But we had nothing. Naomi was known there, but I was a foreigner. Still, hope drove me forward. I asked Naomi for permission to go and glean the leftover grain in the fields, as the Israelite law allowed the poor and foreigners to do. She agreed, and I left, not knowing that God was already guiding my steps. I entered a field that belonged to a man named Boaz, a relative of Elimelech. As I gathered grain with humility and diligence, Boaz arrived and noticed me. He asked the overseer who I was, and upon hearing my story, he was moved. Boaz approached me kindly and said, "Don't go and glean in another field. Stay here with my servant girls. I've ordered the men not to touch you, and when you're thirsty, drink from the jars the servants have filled." Those words were like balm. I bowed down, surprised by the grace he showed me. "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should notice me, a foreigner?" He replied that he had heard of my loyalty to Naomi, how I had left everything to follow the God of Israel. Boaz blessed me, saying the Lord would reward me. At mealtime, he invited me to eat with the harvesters. I ate bread dipped in vinegar, and he gave me roasted grain until I was full. When I returned home, I carried a generous amount of barley and told Naomi about the man who had treated me so kindly. She was amazed. "Boaz is our relative, one of our kinsmen." Hope returned to her eyes. It was as if, even in our sorrow, God was writing a new story. Weeks passed, and the harvest came to an end. Naomi, always watchful, began to see signs of God's favor. Seeing Boaz's kindness toward Ruth, she grew bold and devised a daring plan. "My daughter, should I not seek a home for you, that you may be well and secure?" Naomi said gently. She explained to Ruth that Boaz was a close relative, someone who could redeem them according to the law of Israel. That night, Naomi gave Ruth instructions drawn from ancient wisdom. "Wash yourself, put on perfume, and dress in your best clothes. Go down to the threshing floor where Boaz will be winnowing barley. But don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place. Then go and uncover his feet and lie there. He will tell you what to do." Ruth listened carefully and responded with confidence. "I will do all that you say." Her heart held courage, and her steps were full of faith. At evening, as Naomi instructed, Ruth went to the threshing floor. Her heart raced, but she remained steady. Hidden in the shadows, she waited for Boaz to finish his meal and lie down. Then, quietly, she approached, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Around midnight, Boaz awoke suddenly. "Who are you?" he asked. Ruth replied humbly, "I am your servant Ruth. Spread your cloak over me, for you are a redeemer." Boaz was moved by the courage and loyalty of this woman. "May the Lord bless you, my daughter. Do not be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask. For everyone in my town knows you are a virtuous woman." Yet Boaz was also just. He explained there was a closer relative who had the first right to redeem her, but he promised to resolve the matter in the morning. Before dawn, Boaz filled Ruth's shawl with barley and sent her back to Naomi. When she returned, Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Ruth told her everything, and Naomi, with eyes full of faith, said, "Wait, my daughter, until you see how this turns out. Boaz will not rest until he settles the matter today." The morning after the encounter at the threshing floor, Boaz wasted no time. He knew there was a closer relative to Elimelech who had the right to redeem the land and marry Ruth according to the law of redemption in Israel. Determined to do everything properly, Boaz went to the city gate, where the elders gathered to settle important legal matters. With the wisdom and respect that marked his character, Boaz called the nearest relative and invited 10 elders to witness the discussion. He clearly explained the situation. Naomi was selling the land that had belonged to her deceased husband, and the relative had the right to redeem it. The man showed interest in the land, but when Boaz mentioned that with the land came the obligation to marry Ruth the Moabite, to preserve the lineage of Elimelech, the man stepped back. He feared endangering his own family inheritance. So, he took off his sandal and gave it to Boaz, according to the ancient custom in Israel, to confirm redemption and property exchanges. Boaz then declared before all the witnesses that he was redeeming Naomi's land and taking Ruth as his wife. The people and the elders responded with blessings. "May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel." Joy and hope filled the hearts of Ruth and Naomi. Redemption had come. Love, loyalty, and faith had been rewarded. The foreign Moabite woman now fully belonged to the people of God. With the marriage of Boaz and Ruth, a new hope blossomed in Bethlehem. The union that began with mercy and faith now became the beginning of a lineage that would change Israel's history. God honored Ruth's faithfulness, and soon she conceived a son. The women of the town rejoiced with Naomi, saying, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you without a redeemer today. May his name be famous in Israel." They saw in the child not just a grandson for Naomi, but the continuation of her life. He would restore her soul and sustain her in her old age. Naomi took the child in her arms and became his nurse. Joy had returned to her home. The child was named Obed, the father of Jesse, the father of David. One cycle was complete, and another was just beginning. Ruth's story was not just about love, but about redemption. A foreign woman, by the grace of God, was grafted into the tree of promise. Her name would be remembered for generations, for from her line would come Israel's greatest king, and many centuries later, the very Messiah. Ruth proved that faithfulness to God, even in the hardest times, always bears fruit. Her courage, loyalty, and faith echoed beyond her time. Her story stands as a testimony that God uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary plans.